So, back from the coffee break, let's extend now our traveling route, but I will use another section, a second stage right now, because this has some advantages. Of course, I simply can extend the stage 1 by adding more waypoints, but with another stage I have the possibility to change the transportation object and the line settings, because these settings are always the same for the whole stage. So now I create a second stage by using this button. I simply click on it. Now in the menu we see stage 2, and the endpoint of stage 1, Hamburg, now is the starting point of stage 2. So our next stage should take us from Hamburg to London. And since the starting point of the stage is already set, we will add another point using the well-known function right now to set a point from the GPS database. I look for London. And here we have it, London in the United Kingdom. We create a text object as well, and I accept with OK. And here we have the ending point of stage 2. And in this stage we would like to go by ship from Hamburg to London. So I go back to the starting point of stage 2, and let's zoom in a little bit, and I will make the waypoint symbols a little bit more visible. And as we can see here, the symbol, the real point of Hamburg, is a little bit too far on the land, and I drag it a little bit down to here, to the water. In reality there are only a few meters, and it will look much better when the ship starts on water instead of on land. This will look a little bit weird. So here is the starting point of our second stage. Now let's have a look at the parameters. You see, when we created stage 2, Vasco da Gama automatically has copied the transportation parameters and the objects at waypoint parameters. And now we simply have to change the object, because we have still selected the car. Now we choose the ship section, and we will use directly the first ship and accept with OK. And now when we zoom in, I think it will be advisable to move the point a little bit more to this side, because we arrive by car on land and then we go on by ship. So let's move it to over here more or less, so that later on it will look a little bit better. Now in stage 2 we have a different situation as in stage 1, because we can't go in a direct line from Hamburg to London, because we are going by ship, and so the ship has to follow the river instead of going over land. But that is very easy. We zoom in a little bit more, and you can see two different route lines. The first stage is shown as a yellow line, and the part from Hamburg to London is shown as a black and white dashed line. The difference is the yellow line is the part behind us, already traveled, and the black and white dashed line is the part which lies before us. So we can add further points in this part when we click directly on the black and white line. So I click onto the line, and now I've inserted an additional waypoint. And I can move this point directly, and so I can create another one and set it over here. And maybe for fine work, it is advisable to make the points, the symbols, a little bit smaller. And now we can easily insert more points and so create our route along the river and here you can see that around the stopover points Vasco da Gama designs a curved line. This is very practical, so we don't have any edges. The curvature of the line always turns into the direction of the next part of the line. Here it turns to the left because here the straight line goes on to the left. This is controlled by this setting here, rounded line. The other one should be, can be square line, and then we will have edges. So for this rules, of course, we would like to have it to set to rounded line. And now you can spot that here the curve which goes to the left, which turns to the left, will adjust itself in the moment when I set the new point. You see, now it turns to the right and so on. So now it is really easy to design the route along the river, and the idea behind this is always use as many points as needed but as few as possible. The fewer points you have, the fewer complications you will have, the faster the animation will be calculated and so on. But of course sometimes you need more points to show the precise route. You will see it right now when we come to the end of the river. Now I can zoom out a little bit because the river gets wider. And from the moment on that we are at open sea, at open water, then we can use fewer points. You see already I'm using fewer ones. My steps are bigger right now. And now we can zoom out. And make the route going in a nice curved way through the North Sea. And here we lower down and now we have to zoom in again here. And again here I will draw the final point of London more to the water. So now the ship route is defined, and at this moment I will select the object and let's see. Here we have Big Ben. We zoom out and here we have the text of London, and we switch to camera view, and now we see here our scenery. And you observe right now that the texts again are too low. And if you wonder why this happens, it's because we have selected a camera profile of 180 degrees turnaround side glance, and this turnaround of 180 degrees now takes place from Berlin until London. and in the former lesson only until Hamburg. So the camera view is different, and therefore it is far more, a little bit more away, and therefore the text objects now are too low. So no problem, in the global settings we lift them up again. Now we should take care of London so that the text doesn't touches the top of the tower. So now let's go to the preview and see how our animation looks right now. We start in Berlin, going on our way to Hamburg. Now the car fades out and the ship fades in, starting on its way over the North Sea to London. And it will be faded out. And you may have seen that the ship at the beginning, leaving Hamburg and coming near London, was turning around right, left, and this looked not so good. And the reason is the curves are too small for the size of the ship. So the ship takes correctly every curve, and therefore it turns back and forth, which looks a little bit ugly. So we have to solve the problem, and for this situations Vasco da Gama has an extra function which is called calming movement. And let's simply activate it and go back to the preview window and have a look right now. And now observe the ship. And this looks much better. And here we have seen two things. We can use the function calming movement, or we can make the route a little bit simpler, fewer curves, but this depends on what you would like to show. So for this view, when we don't get closer with our camera, when we're getting not so close but looking from far away, as in this scenery, then we really can make the route much easier using fewer points, because we can't see it if it goes correctly on the waterway or not. But when you would like to get closer, then you need it a little bit more exactly. So it depends on what you would like to show. So now let's have a look at the route line for the stages. In different stages, we can not only use different objects that move on the route, but we can use different settings for the route line as well. So let's switch back to stage 1, and in the line shape menu, now we can select a different line shape. Instead of a continuous line, we can use several forms of dashed lines. For example, we can select number 14 here, and these are circles with a small gap between every circle, and every second circle has the same color. So we have circles with two colors, and the colors can be defined here. For example, I can turn the red color into a white, for example. Simply click with OK, and that's it. Now we have white and yellow circles, although we can't see it here very well because they are very small, but it works. And for stage 2, I don't want to have any route line at all. So simply I deactivate the function and the route line has gone. Very easy, very intuitive. And now let's go back to the preview window and see how the animation looks right now. Here you can see the dashed line, white, yellow. And now the ship leaves no route at all. So now we have seen many parameters already in the Easy Assist mode, and I hope that the long-time users see the benefits of the Easy Assist mode for creating the routine tasks at the beginning of a project in Easy Assist mode and then go on in Expert mode. And in the next lesson, we will add another stage to our project.